Hello and welcome to the Sex Within Marriage podcast. My name is JD and I blog over at uncoveringintimacy.com. And last week I asked on social media what people would like to see released next. And the topic that got the most votes was to tackle the next month of questions from our anonymous Have a Question page. So here we are again, and we're just going to jump right into them because while I've been working on some exciting things in the background, I'm not quite ready to announce them yet. So you'll just have to be patient. I did get a review last night, though, that I wanted to read. They gave it a 5-star rating and with the subject line of great topics. And they said, "This is one of the best podcasts on Christian marriage that I've listened to. The host is very knowledgeable, straightforward, and open about the problems couples encounter. I really like that he doesn't spend a lot of time talking just for the sake of talking. He gets straight to the topic." And I just wanted to say, I really appreciate reviews like this because it helps me know that I'm on the right path, that people appreciate what's going on. Sometimes I wonder if I should talk more because, frankly, that's what everybody else does. And this helps me know that, there are people who appreciate just getting to the nuts and bolts and let's just solve the problem. And if you have a thought you'd like to share, please... There's a link in the show notes to share your own review. The reviews and ratings and everything, they help other people find us. So we really appreciate when we get them. And now let's get on to the questions. Question 1 is, "Hi Jay, I have a high drive wife. I'm almost 62 and she's almost 55. She is in menopause, but instead of losing her sex drive, she has gone into overdrive. She tracks how much sex we have, and so far in 2023, we've had sex 93 times from January 1st to April 30th. Sometimes it's 2 to 3 times a day. I do not take Viagra or Cialis, but on occasion, if I know we're going to be together, I do take some horny goat weed and sertraline for an added boost. We have a great sex life, very varied, and with little to no inhibitions or limits. There isn't much we don't do within the Christian guidelines that you have outlined. My problem is a happy problem. I know. Guys would kill to be in my shoes. The problem is I am getting so much sex that I'm losing interest in it at times. How can I keep the spark there and keep things fresh? I've tried to tell her we need to take a break, but she feels slighted or that I'm losing interest in her and don't find her sexy anymore. I've tried reasoning with her, but to no avail. Thanks. I appreciate your input, Brian." All right, Brian. So we had a few ideas. The first is that you can have times that are just for her. Don't focus on your pleasure or orgasm. Ensure that she enjoys it and orgasms if she wishes, but don't worry about yourself. That might be sex where you just hold off and just be present, holding her, talking to her, or touching her while she masturbates, or performing manual or oral sex with nothing reciprocated. This tactic will reduce your energy use and refractory periods and keep higher interest. Second, if her increased drive is due to synthetic hormones like HRT or maybe look into dialing them down a little bit. And lastly, retry that conversation and make it clear that it's not about her. It's just that you're 62 and you don't have the energy of a 30-year-old. That's a perfectly reasonable thing to say and not an unreasonable obstacle to work through together to navigate. If she won't be reasonable and you need help, then you can book a coaching session and I can help mediate the conversation to ensure both sides get heard and listen. The second question, I'm just kind of go through quickly. This was a question someone who was 22 years into their marriage asked. The husband was lying about his porn habit, lying about masturbating, calling her names, gaslighting her, opening secret bank accounts, and more. It was very long and very specific and not a question easily answered in this format. So if you sent this question in, I would get into marriage counseling or therapy immediately with someone qualified. If your husband doesn't go, then go yourself to get support and build a plan to make boundaries and protect yourself. This level of damage in a relationship isn't going to be resolved by an anonymous question. All right, question 3 starts with, "Jay, thank you for consistently tackling the tough topics couples deal with. Mine is probably one you have dealt with before, but it's one that continues to cause frustration in my marriage. My wife and I are both 50 and have been married for 29 years. We are recent empty nesters and have been through various sexual droughts in our marriage. There have been times during the 29 years when I've been the higher sex spouse and times when she has been, though I typically fill that role. When sex is not made a priority, I get short-tempered and find myself in a catch-22 situation. I'm grouchy because we haven't connected, and it makes me feel undesirable. Then I snap at her, and the last thing she wants to do is have sex with me. I will say that we have done a better job of consistently having good sex throughout the last year that our son was at college, though it's still not at a frequency I want it to be. And we still go through periods when we have sex just once every 2 or 3 weeks. We both work full time, and she is menopausal and also has a very needy mother in a nursing home that she takes care of / visits several times a week. My wife plays tennis at least 2 nights a week and frequently brings homework home because she's a teacher. My frustration is that our relationship never seems to be our priority. Everything else, work, mother, grown-up kids, meal prep and planning, exercise, church, seems to take precedence over our relationship / sex life. Whenever we try to talk about it, it becomes a fight. I'm just looking for fresh ways to address this seemingly ever-present issue. Thanks in advance. All right, so I really wish you had gone into more detail about the fighting because it sounds like you're heading in the right direction, having a conversation about it, but I need to know why the conversation turns into a fight to do more. So I would suggest booking a coaching call, then we can discuss it together. As with the first question, I can help mediate the fight so it turns back into a productive conversation, so long as you both are willing to accept some guidance. In the meantime, I'd work on learning how to control yourself better during times when sex is infrequent. I know it's hard to fight against that grouchiness and short temper, but just because it's hard doesn't mean it's okay to act like that. You are responsible for your actions, and I think learning to control that would probably help. As Christians, we should be growing in things like peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, and self-control, which it sounds like you struggle with sometimes. That's more of an issue with your relationship with God than your relationship with your wife. Your conflict in your marriage is just a catalyst, not the reason. And don't get me wrong, there's still an issue to fix in the marriage, but I think you have work that you could do on your own as well. Question 4 is, Hi Jay, I stumbled upon your website while Googling. So I have this question, to which I probably already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. So I'm dating this girl. She really needs cuddles and things like that. Obviously, it makes my body react. We don't want to have sex. Is it okay to masturbate then? Thanks, Mark. Hey, Mark. Okay, so first off, I disagree with the phrase, she really needs cuddles. She doesn't. She really wants cuddles. That leads to your failing. Rather than set a boundary to keep you both safe, you've caved and not only given into her wants, but reclassified them as needs so that you can rationalize them. What happens when she really needs an orgasm or when she really needs sex? Once you start down this path, you are going to have difficulty stopping it. You say you don't want to have sex, but that boundary won't hold up if you let all the other boundaries leading to it fail. And if you don't even have the self-control not to masturbate when she's not there, how will you have the self-control to stop her when she is there and begging for sex? To me, sex is sex, alone or with someone, and you should only have sex with your spouse. So stop putting yourself in positions where you feel the need to masturbate. Or get married. Ensure your girlfriend is a good candidate first, that she loves God and will continue pursuing him with you. Things like the desire to have kids or not are good to be in sync with, as well as central doctrinal beliefs. But if you figured that out, what's stopping you? If you haven't figured that out yet, then you're letting your physical relationship progress faster than it should, and you should probably slow down on that front. Probably even go back a couple steps. My friend Chris Granger over at The Line Within Us often says, I think he's quoting someone else, but I don't know who he's quoting. So, but he says, sometimes we let our physiology outrun our theology. And it sounds like this is what's happening here. And frankly, I get it because I've been in the same position. We had decided we were not going to have sex before we were married until we did. And, it's one of the greatest regrets of my life that I did not stand on the theology that I thought I was strong on. So make those boundaries and make them good. And don't be in a place where it's easy to throw them out. All right, question 5 is the last one. This person writes, Hi, Jay. What is your opinion on men wanting to wear sexy or revealing underwear, specifically for men like jock straps, thongs, etc.? My wife and I have been married for 15 years, and I have expressed the desire to wear sexy underwear a few times to my wife, but she is very hesitant and thinks it's weird, likely because it isn't the social norm. I've tried explaining to her that I don't think the feeling of wanting to feel sexy is gender exclusive, and she admits that when she wears panties that are meant to be sexy, that it does give her the feeling of being sexy and desirable. This is a part of the reasons I would like to do it on occasion. It has nothing to do with wanting to feel feminine or for cross-dressing purposes, which I know you have covered in other topics. It is purely for the above-mentioned reason that, as well as I find it to be a big turn-on to feel exposed or on display in front of my wife. I enjoy being naked in front of her and always have, and we have a fun time with that and laugh about how I enjoy it so much. I also think it would be fun to wear them and say out on a date with her and me and having a little secret between the two of us as a form of foreplay. We do this already with her if she puts on some sexy lingerie under her clothes before we go out to dinner or the movies. Just curious about your thoughts, and also if there are other Christian men that enjoy this sort of fun with their wives. Thanks. So I have no objections to it at all. Neither did anyone in our forum. As for why it isn't a social norm, it is likely because men tend to be more visually stimulated than women. So the idea of sexy underwear for men appeals to a much smaller audience. Even in your case, your wife seems less interested in it than you are. Not that that's an issue. I'm just explaining why it's not a social norm. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. And those are the questions from May 2023. If you have a question of your own, you have some options. You can post it anonymously on our website, and we'll talk about it in the forum and post the answers at some point in the future. If you have a question that's more urgent or you want to be able to give more feedback on and more context, then I suggest joining the forum as a supporter. Even if it's just for a month, you can ask your question, be a part of discussing it, and then if you want to leave, you can, or stick around and learn more as we help others in their marriages. If you want an even quicker and more targeted response, you can book a consultation call with me or start coaching and make big lasting changes. And that is it for today. Talk to you next time.